Yo, what's up with it? YouTube gang back with another one. About to go ahead and do a reaction video to 50 Chris Redfield facts from Resident Evil. Today's content will be provided from Ink Ribbon's YouTube channel, which I'm a huge fan of him. So be sure you guys subscribe to his channel if you want to check out more content just like the one I'm reacting to today. And if you enjoyed my reaction today, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you can receive notifications when I drop more content just like this one today. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, Chris Redfield is literally my favorite Resident Evil character. I feel like he gets overlooked in the series, and I feel like he's very underrated. But yeah, let's get into the video, you guys. We'll get deeper into it. But comment below who's your favorite Resident Evil character.
The man, the myth, the boulder-punching legend himself. Chris Redfield has been with the series from the beginning, starting from the first game all the way to the newest entry, Village. Chris is a staple of the series, and today we're going to take an in-depth look at him and his history within Resident Evil. Here are 50 facts about Chris Redfield. In the initial team design for the first game, there were 4 characters named Dewey, Chris, Jill, and Gelzer. Chris and Jill were the only 2 that made it into the game. The reason his color was designated as green was to complement the blue, red, black, and white of the other members. For some unexplained reason, even though he is firing his gun as he runs towards the mansion, Chris ends up armed with only a knife at the start of the game. Chris started his career in the Air Force as a pilot of both planes and helicopters. His headstrong attitude made it difficult for him to get along with other officers and ultimately led to him leaving the Air Force. During his time serving in the Air Force is when he met Barry. Even though he was known for being a pilot, Chris excelled at both hand-to-hand combat and marksmanship, which he even won awards for. Shortly after leaving the Air Force, he was scouted and recruited by the RPD and joined STARS. Chris's blood type is O. In the original ending where Chris leaves alone, he is seen smoking, which was not included in the censored versions of the game. Interestingly enough, all versions of the game still show him.
You know, it's so crazy too because a lot of people always speak about like Chris's size, but a lot of people tend to forget that Chris in the very original, even in the first Resident Evil game, the pixelated version, he was clearly a bigger guy, like, you know, military type buff guy. He was definitely always that. And then people also have taken into account there's a reason that in every Resident Evil game Chris literally has all of the heavier weapons like the shotguns, the magnums. What else was it? I would say he would usually have, or is it always usually in between those two? Yeah, I would say it's usually in between the shotgun and the magnums, and usually there's a reason why Chris has those bigger weapons. It takes a lot of strength to shoot and hold those type of weapons. Comment below if I left out any other weapons, you guys, from any of the other Resident Evil games for heavy weapons he might have used. But those are usually his 2 main weapons given to him in games, is the Magnum and combat shotgun, whatever. Let's get back into it.
Sequence. His smoking habit is the reason he carries a lighter in his inventory.
Keep it. It was a gift from my brother, but...
After the first game, all references to him being a smoker were removed from the series until Resident Evil 6, where cigarette butts can be seen at his table at the bar. Canonically, he has had 2 different heights, one being that he is 5'11", and the other that he is 6'1". In the DS game, if you wait until Chris's idle animation, he will have 2 reactions, one if you touch his hair, and one if you touch his butt. Chris has had the most character redesigns of anyone in Resident Evil, looking very different in almost every single game.
Right.
In the rejected first movie script, Chris and Jill were lovers. In the artwork for his Resident...
All right, people. I always thought Chris and Jill would be a nice touch to the Resident Evil games if they were made into a romantic interest. The part that kills me the most is in Code Veronica X. They almost tried to have Steve be a romantic interest for Claire. Don't know how or why that happened, but yeah, I'm glad it didn't. But it's just disappointing because it's like, all right, if you guys are gonna go that route, you could have easily had Chris and Jill been the ones. You know, they're the main characters in this Resident Evil series for the most part, including Claire and Leon, right? Like, if you guys were gonna dig into romantic interest, it shouldn't have been Claire with fucking Steve. But yeah, Jill and Chris would have been an interesting romantic interest in the Resident Evil series. Comment below if you guys agree. Do you think Jill and Chris would have made a good romantic interest, or do you think Capcom did great by just leaving that type of stuff out? Let's get back to it.
Chris appears in Super Smash Bros. As a spirit. In Outbreak, there is an SP item in the Hive called Chris's X-Ray. There is also an SP item called Chris's Medical Chart. Chris wasn't supposed to be in Code Veronica, but due to this line,
Chris, I have to find you.
the story was reworked and he was added. In the extra battle mode in Code Veronica, Chris has 2 secret animations. One where he tries to get something out of a tiger's mouth, and one where he fixes his hair. When the BSAA was created, his main job was training new recruits to deal with BOW combat situations. In the novel for Code Veronica, it's explained that the gym bag Chris drops at the beginning of Code Veronica was filled with weapons, ammo, repelling equipment, first aid kits, and more. Chris has had a bad habit of losing entire teams from both Alpha and Bravo team as well as his BSAA team in Resident Evil 6. In Resident Evil Revelations, Jill rescues a tied-up Chris only to discover that it's a dummy. In the original teaser trailer, the dummy was actually Chris's doppelganger, and some people believe the man might have actually been Hunk. His alternate outfit in Rebirth was mainly inspired by Brad Pitt's character in the movie, The Mexican. Chris loves having his sleeves rolled up, even rolling up his sleeves in cold weather during Revelations. When PlayStation Home was still a thing, you could get Chris's outfit from Resident Evil 5 for your avatar. In Resident Evil 5, there is deleted dialogue between Chris and Jill where she talks about Chris liking younger women.
That reminds me. I heard you and that girl in the tech department were getting kind of friendly. I didn't know you liked them so young.
Hold on, I don't like them young.
In the PC version of Resident Evil 1, Chris has an exclusive outfit that says Brave Bomber. It's the only Redfield insignia between Claire and Chris that is not in reference to the band Queen. In the DS version, he also has a ninja outfit.
No ninja.
His Resident Evil 5 redesign was really controversial, with a lot of people liking it, while a lot of people accused Chris of using steroids, since his biceps were literally the size of his head.
Yeah, I mean, they exaggerated the biceps a little bit, but once again, you guys played the very original Part 1 Resident Evil game where they were in the mansion, even in the pixelated version. See, it was the remastered version they released to Resident Evil 1 that had people confused because they slimmed Chris down, which I still don't know why they did that. I'm glad that they included the Resident Evil 5 version of Chris to be playable in the remastered Resident Evil 1 game, because that makes it better. But yeah, I think it's that game that got people all misconstrued. At the end of the day, in the very first original released, very first Resident Evil game, even in pixelated form, Chris was always, his biceps were always big. He was always a bigger guy. He was never just this skinny, mini, slim type dude. He was always a military type figure. So yeah, I don't know.
In the original concept for Resident Evil 5, Chris was going to have a single-player campaign, much like Resident Evil 4, but this was changed to allow for 2-player co-op with Sheva as his partner. He was going to retire in 2013, but the death of Piers motivated him to continue forward. In the manga series called The Marhawa Desires, we see the debut of Pierce and the events leading to him becoming Chris's partner.
That's my chat face, you guys.
In Resident Evil Umbrella Corps, Chris is available as DLC for your avatar. In Resident Evil Afterlife, Wentworth Miller, who plays Chris, was very nervous about doing the movie when he first read the script because he just came out of the show Prison Break, and his first scene as Chris Redfield was trying to break out of a prison. On September 27, 2000, Scott McCulloch, the original voice of Chris Redfield, was killed in a car accident in Japan. Chris Redfield's current voice actor, Roger Craig Smith, got his start in Resident Evil Degeneration as the voice of Curtis.
I'll reveal the irrefutable truth in my own
Not my
personal
name.
way.
Jesus.
Chris's model can be found in the game files for Resident Evil 2 Remake. The reason Chris looked so drastically different in Resident Evil 7 was because Capcom uses new techniques where everything in the game must be scanned. Either they couldn't find a face model that looked enough like Chris, or they decided to go in a different direction for his look in this game. Unsurprisingly, Chris's boulder punch is extremely unrealistic. While he wasn't trying to break it or anything,
very unrealistic. I remember when I first played this years ago. Me and my friend at the time that played through and beat this together on co-op was super weak because all we could tell ourselves was how the hell he just punched this boulder off the cliff. Not only that, but it's like the whole game you're able to punch the zombies or whatever you call those things throughout the game, right? But for some reason, you have to sometimes punch multiple times to do any real damage. You would have thought if Chris can punch boulders off the cliffs, those punches to those zombies should have been like one hit kills pretty much at that point. But yeah, boulder punching Chris Redfield.
just move a boulder the way that he did would be pretty much impossible to achieve for any human and most cars. In Marvel vs. Capcom, each of Chris's palette swaps represents different characters within Capcom, with blue being inspired by Jill's Stars outfit and the yellow being inspired by Chuck Green in Dead Rising 2. Chris is the only Resident Evil character in Marvel vs. Capcom that doesn't break the fourth wall by attacking the camera. Originally, Chris had blue eyes all the way up to Code Veronica, but all the games after this feature Chris having brown eyes.
Yeah.
The strange letter that Chris left behind in the Stars Armory in Resident Evil 2 Remake is actually a secret code. When you break it down, it basically says something like, "I met an Umbrella informant, but I need more time to take them down. Barry, come to Europe and help me." In Resident Evil 2 Remake, the DLC Samurai Edge of Chris's model is extremely accurate with its aiming, allowing it to focus almost instantly and hardly ever move the reticle while firing. In the original Resident Evil 2, you can spot the gold emblem from the first game in a box on the floor.
Didn't know that.
Chris's title in Stars is Point Man, which means he leads the way for the team. And for anyone wondering, the blood in the dining room is not Chris's blood. It's actually Kenneth's. And that's
crazy that after all these years, people still need clarification on that. Like, it's pretty obvious, you know, if Chris Redfield and Jill both were in the ending of the game, both untouched or affected by the virus, clearly, including Barry and Rebecca, right? That would only leave the only person that's in the room next to that dining hall that literally has his neck bitten off and was killed by a zombie, right?
Hope you guys enjoyed this video. What other video game characters would you like to see a list like this on? Let me know down in the comments, and if you learned anything, be sure to click that like button. And a big shout out to my friends over at Biohazard Declassified who sent me some of the footage for this video. You can find them over at Facebook and also on YouTube, and I highly recommend their content.
You guys, make sure you follow them as well. They also have great content
For all Resident Evil fans. I hope you are all doing well and staying safe. Until next time.
So there you guys have it. That was my reaction to the 50 Chris Redfield facts from Resident Evil. As I mentioned earlier, I do truly believe Chris is underrated. I don't know how Leon's been placed above Chris. I do respect what Leon's done for the game series and the things he has done just in the lore of the game. But I'm sorry, Chris has done a lot more, been through a lot more, and deserves a lot more respect than he receives. Outside of that, how do you guys feel about the Resident Evil 9 wait? I'm still trying to wait and see what type of information they're going to continue to drop so we can know from what the little information I do have on Resident Evil 9. It's looking like they're trying to make Jill and Leon the playable characters, but can we just bring Chris back, please? I mean, I feel like a game with Jill and Chris would be a lot better, especially in this era than with Leon. We've had enough Leon. Like, seriously, we've been getting Leon left and right. Let's get Chris, literally, and can't nobody say anything because in Resident Evil 7 and Village, Chris literally didn't get that much playthrough. You have to have a DLC to play as Chris in Resident Evil 7, and then in Village, it was a brief moment towards the end of the game. It wasn't like you got to play with him throughout the whole thing. he needs his own storyline again through a regular Resident Evil game. I'm hoping maybe they second guess that and put Chris instead of Jill. We will see. But yeah, you guys, that'll be all for me on this topic. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell if you want to see more videos, more content just like this. I will have more to come. Make sure you guys are staying safe out there. This world's crazy. I know I can be crazy here in HK's Wild World, but I do care. So make sure you guys are staying safe. You know, I had just had one of my nephew and his stepdad get into a car accident. Thank God they're okay. But yeah, you guys be safe out there. All right. Outside of that, though, it's been real. This is HK's Wild World. I got to get out of here. Not saying you guys got to go home, but you definitely got to clear this space. You feel me? Y'all go ahead. Stay blessed. I'm about to get up out of here. Catch y'all next.